It is the Doomsday Podcast, Mosley and Werder with you after a stunning comeback. Cowboys win 24-21 over the Philadelphia Eagles after trailing 21-0. Ed, great to be back with you. Good to be back in our familiar perch. We'll be out here for Thanksgiving again, but it felt like in the first half, like so many of these games, that this was going to be a long slog to the end, and the season would basically be over, and the Cowboys find a way. I did not expect, Ed, for us to be having this conversation throughout really all of the first half and then much of the third quarter. And then with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter, things started to change.
Talking to Brian Schottenheimer after the game, Dak Prescott after the game, got the sense that the touchdown they scored at the end of the half to cut a 21-0 deficit, 21-7, was really a significant score. And did not think they were going to come back from how poorly they played, the way they were out-coached strategically early in the game, playing, I thought, a significant factor in that. Schotty going for it on the first possession of the opening drive at midfield, knowing that they just stopped the Lions 5 times in a row last week. The Lions are the best fourth down team in football. Went 0 for 5. He goes for it. They don't get it. They turn around, the Eagles do, and take the lead, and it looks like they're going to run away with the game. But instead, the Cowboys overcome a 21-point deficit for only the 4th time in franchise history. I think it had been 13 years since they last did it. 2014 was 11 years since they last accomplished that. Dak Prescott becomes the Cowboys' franchise career passing leader, moving past Tony Romo, his immediate predecessor at the quarterback position. And I think it meant something to him to do that in a game like this, in a game they won against the defending Super Bowl champions with their season on the line, doing things we hadn't seen this team do under Brian Schottenheimer. They hadn't won back-to-back games. They hadn't beaten an opponent with a winning record, and they did both of those things tonight.
Cowboys improved to 5-5-1. What do we call that?
It's not any more mediocre than that.
It's not 500, is it? What is it?
500.
I mean, it's like, well, you can't kind of factor the tie in. 5-5-1. The Eagles fall to 8-3 on the season, and it is the biggest win of the season, and it preserves everything. And by the way, as we tape this, they're trying to – what are they getting this place for? High school football or something? Or for Thanksgiving?
The logos and
off
the field in the end zones.
Maybe they're doing some stuff.
My cleats.
Okay. I thought they were preparing for like Post Malone's appearance, Little John.
Thanksgiving Day?
Some of the folks. We're 4 days away, right? I mean, we're like –
I got to flip this field pretty
Could we go ahead and do the Thanksgiving podcast tonight?
Yeah, what do you
we
think
just go ahead and record it? They're going to win. This team is stacking wins. You cannot stop them. Okay.
The Eagles, by the way, at one point had a 96% chance of winning the game.
Yeah.
Based on the analytics when the Cowboys were down 21-0.
Wow. And to start the day, the Cowboys had like a 7% chance of reaching the playoffs. And we don't know what it is now, but I bet it's up to 11 or 12. Yeah, somewhere like that.
I know Schotty said you take each game one championship opportunity at a time. And he said, but if we keep playing the way we're playing now, after 17 games, we'll either be in or we're out. I like our chances.
That's good. That's good. Mike Hamilton back with us, our old buddy, the Z-Man, taking an early Thanksgiving, an odd 4 days before Thanksgiving. He's headed to East Texas. Mike Hamilton.
How early is he going to take off for Christmas and New Year's?
I got no clue. But Mike should be on call as he is tonight. Mike, please play the music. All right, still almost, Ed, as we were talking about right before we started, you sort of preparing your mind what we're going to be talking about throughout the first half. And even with that score, I would not say that 21-7, the Cowboys are now going to come back and win this game. And think about how many times they could have lost this game. Like the things that keep coming back to my mind, horrible throw by Dak down there in the end zone. And, of course, that knocked him back. Guyton just kept making mistakes. And whether it was
Procedure penalty.
False start got false start down there. Moves them back. Next play, they try to run an out.
Run now they got to throw.
They got to throw, and it gets picked off in the Reed Blankenship, I believe, got that one in the end zone. And then the second half, think about that, had incredible turnover. Then on the special teams, Elijah Clark, who was signed, I don't know when.
Undrafted free agent.
Yeah. And goes down, makes a after
knocked down 3 times. In fact, I showed Shoddy after his press conference the video on my phone of that, and he says, I've heard of this play, and he watched it for 13 or 14 seconds. At last, he goes, that's a game ball for him. So I got Elijah a game ball if he wasn't going to get one anyway.
I like that. The Doomsday Podcast shows the head coach videos after the game. That's pretty cool. And he went, and Marquise Bell, it was like a combo. Marquise Bell hit the guy up top. And then, and was that the guy who was hurt after that play? I think when you fumble in a situation, you stay down, right?
You make sure the coaches know that it was no ordinary thing.
It was, it took him out of the game.
Sacrificed your body in this situation.
Yeah. And what did the Cowboys?
Sieg, of course, a long snapper down the field, making the recovery.
And yet, on those big plays, I mean, you had the recovery by Murray, and you had the punch out by Sam Williams. Before that, they got nothing out of either one. What did you – I kind of wanted to get – and of course, our folks will have an opinion on this. It's 21-21. You're down there, and you can take the lead with about, 2 minutes left? 2.5? I mean, you can take the lead there. They're going to have time. But you can – I think it was 2.5, 3 minutes. And instead of kicking the field goal, Cowboys go for it and don't get it. And by the way, before –
Right.
No, I was going to say before that, I'm trying to think on the sequence down there. Had CD dropped another one? He had 8 drops this season so far. That's a new career high. Wow.
Dak went to him 2 times in the end zone, was 0 for 2 with an interception and a drop by Lamb on those plays. On the 4th down situation you're talking about, the thing I didn't love on 3rd and 4th down, I didn't love being in the shotgun. Get under center, create the possibility of the run, so the defense has to honor that. I didn't like being in the shotgun. But analytics say that the Cowboys were just the 3rd team to go for it on 4th and goal with the game tied and under 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. The others were the Ravens, 2022 Week 4. Lamar Jackson threw an interception on 4th and goal from the 2. And the Dolphins this season in Week 11 against the Commanders, and Ollie Gordon was stopped for a 2-yard loss on 4th and goal. So none of the 3 teams converted it into a touchdown in that circumstance. And Shoddy had no misgivings about it. Dak didn't either. Dak said, I put that on us. We got the personnel. I want to go for it in that situation. I didn't want to kick. And they felt like at worst, and this is a new philosophical thought when you're considering the strategy too, is we got them on the 2-yard line. Even if they don't make it, they got to go 98 yards, or they got a pretty good kicker, but they got to go a significant distance to kick a field goal and 98 yards to get a touchdown. And, guess what? The defense is actually playing well. I mean, since they've gotten those guys back from injury, since the Quinnen Williams trade, the Luke Wilson trade, I mean, they stopped them 8 straight times. The Eagles had no points on their last 8 possessions of the game. That's where this win started.
Yeah, Logan Wilson.
Yeah. Luke is an actor.
He is an actor, yeah. And by the way, this is Luke Wilson makes this brand here. Cricket. Yeah.
I did not know that.
So he's part of that brand. Okay, Cowboys win this thing 24-21. Ed and I have a lot to share with you on this thing. And, Ed, you're right. I mean, think about how many straight possessions of defense. Okay, so you have all those Eagles score. It looked like all they had to do was just throw it deep, right? Devontae. And then I thought, well, this is smart by the Eagles because A.J. Brown is constantly upset, right? And that's a huge story week after week. Their offense, what did they do in the first half? They just targeted him over and over.
The first touchdown on Deron Bland.
Yeah, and so they kept coming to him. And then they went deep to Devontae Smith. And it just seemed like when Dak went down there and the fumble, even when they would try to get things going, first of all, I don't know why they I'm okay with a jet sweep, right? I'm okay using Turpin in interesting ways. Lining him up as a tailback at 145 pounds is a weird thing.
And he fumbled without being hit. He just fell down and lost the ball. But then he made a big play out of the backfield on a 48-yard play, right? Was he in the backfield on that play? The 48-yard play, or was that a catch? He had like a 48-yard play and a 40.
He did. No. He was a catch in the middle of the field, and then he scored it out, and Dak kind of pointed to him and found him into the middle of the field, and he took off on that play. He also had a play where he called for a fair catch and then tried to return a punt.
End of the game.
Kind of an odd.
Penalized for that.
Yeah. The way that, we need to talk too about that from a special team standpoint, since we're on that. Weird moment where Cowboys got rough in the punter penalty.
Second series.
Yeah.
They stopped the Eagles on essentially a 3-and-out. They punt, and Ryan Flanoy appears to graze the ball with his fingertips and reacts that way immediately. And Maris Leofau just laid the punter out. I mean, he killed him after that. But Brian Schottenheimer, who still has not thrown the red flag as a head coach, chose not to do it there. I asked him about it after the game, and he said that he did not feel, in consulting with the coaches upstairs, that there was sufficient video evidence to overturn the call. That he likes to listen to his players. He listened to Flanoy, who immediately told him he did touch the ball, but they just didn't feel like the call was going to get overturned. I talked to Dean Blandino, former head of officiating in the NFL and now works for Fox and was here on the broadcast, texted him during the game, and he confirmed that, A, you can challenge that play, and B, he said without question there was enough evidence that they would have changed the call, and it would not have been roughing the kicker. Yeah.
And by the way, in fairness to Shotty on this, I don't think Fox, and you and I were both obviously here at the game, I don't think Fox showed it right away. I think Fox came back later, like on subsequent, and goes, hey, here we can show now that this grazed the deal. But again, they would have had every replay they needed to get that deal done.
At some point, like, a play's big enough that you have to do it. Even if there's a good chance, like if you've got players telling you this happened, and the coaches upstairs are saying, I'm not so sure. Like, is it an important enough play
to take the risk
in that moment to do it? Yeah, I think it is.
Probably
I think it was.
Yeah. Do you think that Shotty thinks it's like bad manners to throw the challenge?
Maybe he was a quarterback. He should have a good throwing motion. He's a Florida quarterback.
Shotty's guided this team back to. Oh my!
But you know what? I think in terms of the big picture of how they won this game, overcoming another bad performance by their number one receiver, CeeDee Lamb, who had I think he's got 7 drops in 2 games against the Eagles. Fortunately, they had George Pickens, who was phenomenal again in this game, and reiterated the importance that Jerry's got to find a way. If you're going to consider this winning a trade, you've got to keep the player. Like, it's not about one season, especially in a season like this where they may not even make the playoffs. Like, once you acquire a 24-year-old player who can do what he does and has the impact on the players you've invested the most money in Dak and CD, like, you got to sign this player and you got to keep this player for the duration of his prime years. That's the challenge for Jerry. But anyway, this defense had only given up 9 passing touchdowns. They were tied with the Broncos for allowing the fewest touchdown passes. Not only that, they hadn't given up a single touchdown pass on 3rd or 4th down, and 3 touchdown passes on 3rd or 4th down, and none in the red zone. And so for Dak to go throw for 350-plus yards against this defense is pretty astonishing.
It was, and I was watching when Adoree Jackson went out of that game with a concussion, number 8 for them, by the way, to see if the Cowboys, they still had Quinyon Mitchell, who's a pretty good player in there. Then Reed Blankenship, the guy who got the interception, got hurt and had to leave the game. Who got hurt and came back? One of their, Quinnen, somebody, was it Saquon? I think the running back, somebody chipped him and almost like hurt his ribs or something, and he came back in this game. I think the most astonishing thing, Ed, is like this seemed and felt like another game where, even when Jalen Hurts scored one of those touchdowns down there on that play, Donovan Wilson, there were like 3 players who missed tackles. It seemed like the Cowboys were getting back to their bad ways on defense, and yet the defense is really what preserved the opportunity for the offense to get going and get the team back in the game. There was a big touchdown in the first half. In fact, Jerry, I wanted to stop Jerry and remind him. Jerry kept saying, I can't believe we were down 21-0 at half. And I want to be like, Jerry, you were down 21-7. But the defense, and there was one drive that at the end of the half, the Eagles basically took a knee. So starting somewhere around there, they had like 7 straight drives where they didn't get points.
They finished the game with 8 straight
drives
where they did not score.
And which is just unbelievable. It's just crazy.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I mean, and we talked about that. We talked about how devastating I think it was to the locker room and the bad messages sent a week before they played the Eagles in the regular season opener that they traded Micah Parsons, their best defensive player, unexpectedly. And really it was sending the message to the team that we did this. Yeah, we got Kenny Clark, a defensive tackle, nice player, going to start. But we gave away our best player mainly to get those 2 first-round draft picks. And Jerry talked at the time about, hey, we're going to turn that into 4 or 5 players. Kenny Clark was the first of those guys. Quinnen Williams is the second one of those guys. And Quinnen Williams, I think that acquiring him and Wilson at the trade deadline, the first time in 30 years the Cowboys have acquired 2 players in a trade on the same day, I think that sent a message to the locker room too that, hey, we're going to be good. We're going to compete in the second half of this season. And now I thought it was too late, and it may prove to be too late to make the playoffs. But you just look at what they've done. Quinnen Williams today, 4 pressures, has 7 in 2 games with the Cowboys. He had 8 pressures in 8 games with the Jets, okay? Since they've acquired Quinnen Williams, they played Ashton Genty, the 6th pick in the draft, and Saquon Barkley, a 2,000-yard rusher last year, only the 9th in NFL history. And the Raiders and Eagles have rushed, I think, 30 times for 90 yards, and they have 1 run of 10 or more yards in that span. And so that was really the first thing Shotty said about the defense was how proud he was of the way they took Barkley out of the game and stopped the run. And, yeah, they didn't get consistent pressure like we saw them overtake the Raiders' offensive line. The Eagles have a good offensive line, even without Lyndon Johnson. But, I mean, Oso Digizua did get a huge sack that forced the punt that led to the drive that the Cowboys scored the winning points on at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I thought Osa had a pretty good game. He had 4 quarterback hits credited with this, and then he makes the huge sack there. And, Jalen Hurts is a hard guy to bring down, and he just got back there, made the play. I thought throughout some of this game, the Cowboys were extremely fortunate because the quarterback had too much time. This was not a consistent, great pass rush. Right. They did make some plays, but I had flashbacks of Donovan McNabb having like 13 seconds. It happened on like a Monday Night Football game out here, and he might have thrown to Deshaun Jackson or somebody like that, and he just had way too much time. And the Cowboys were not blitzing. They were coming with 4 and trying to get home, and it wasn't really working that well. But on the defensive end, just staying there for a minute, I continue to kind of be like, okay, I want to see more of Siobhan Ravel. From a linebacker perspective, Overshown, actually, you see what he does. He had moments where in the open field, there's Saquon. He makes people look so bad sometimes, right? Saquon. And Overshown was quick enough and fast enough.
And he ran down Hurts on a play, too, where he thought he was going to go for 10 or 12 yards. He got beat. I remember the play on the sideline you're talking about with Barkley. It was like Barkley's going to juke him, and he's going to get away, and Overshown just swarmed him. It was impressive. I thought he showed up today. You saw his presence and his athleticism today, and the effect that.
Yeah, and it's sort of a shout out to when they start bringing in a bunch of they bring him back, and they trade for Logan Wilson. You think the message to like Murray and Shamar James and those guys is like, hey, dude, you guys can't do it, or Leafau, and yet they're all out there playing. Like everybody's involved.
Murray still plays a high percentage of the snaps.
Correct.
And maybe he's become more effective with defensive tackle play improving in front of him. Like Quinnen Williams is a step above Odigizua, even though the Cowboys signed him as a priority, in the offseason, gave him an extension, even though they brought in Kenny Clark. Like Quinnen Williams is better than those 2 guys, significantly better than either one of them.
I agree with that. And Kenny Clark did have a play early in the game where he kind of got in there and put some pressure on Hurts. But the way that game was going was like so many other games. You thought it would get away from the Cowboys. There's no way to get back in. And then, like you say, not capitalizing on two huge, caused turnovers. Now, again, the takeaways were still huge because, Ed, when Sam Williams pumped the ball out of there, the Eagles were already within field goal range, I believe. And then that was big. The Eagles missing a field goal. And then, of course, Brandon Aubrey making the game winner. He missed one early in this game, which he almost never does. And a 51-yarder for him is pretty much a chip shot. He hooked that one a little bit.
Bad day it is. Even Aubrey's off his game today. But, the red zone offense is certainly an issue. Whether that's a play calling issue with Shoddy or whether it's an execution issue with the players, probably some of both. But Dak has thrown 15 end zone interceptions since he became the Cowboys quarterback in 2016, and the only player in that span with more is Russell Wilson with 16. And they came into the game 13th in the NFL in red zone percentage, which seems really low for a team that's second in the NFL in scoring, right? You're scoring almost 30 points a game, and you're only getting touchdowns in the red zone 61% of the time. That's 13th in the NFL, and they have now 4 red zone turnovers.
Yeah, that's not.
They had 9 last year. They led the NFL with 9 last year.
I have to, and Ed, we shouldn't add that Javonte Williams had some big runs in this game. I thought the offensive line did some good things. Guyton was not good. Guyton had a horrible false start down around the goal line that put him in a bad, backed him up and made it second and goal from the 6 when they were down there on the 1-yard line. Bad play. He had another bad play.
He didn't finish the game either.
Didn't finish the game. And I got to say, I didn't feel like they lost that much with Nate Thomas, who's a pretty good player over there on the left side. For the most part, I thought the offensive line played pretty well. And, in fact, while Javonte played well, Luke Davis had a couple of really good runs, and one in particular that he got out in the open field. So some good blocking. And I have to praise some of the play calling because, as you've seen, Ed, when a team's down 21-7, and it's like, okay, are they going to be able to 21-14? Still, it's like, are they really in this game? They kept trying to run the ball, and they ran it pretty effectively, and so they at least had the threat of the run still. And a lot of times they abandoned that.
And I think one of the reasons that they did that, and one of the reasons, like you're saying, it's a point of emphasis, is the Eagles are the worst defense in the NFL against play action. And Dak and the Cowboys have had great success with play action. In fact, I think going into tonight's game, Matthew Stafford playing against the Tampa Bay Bucks, I think Dak, with 2 more touchdown passes today against play action, now has 15, the most in his career, and it ties Stafford for the NFL lead. So that's part of continuing to run the football. Is it sets up what we do well, throwing the football against a defense that generally is really good defending the passing game, but the weakness they have is when you play action.
All right, the thing that you love about the Doomsday is that Ed and I are on the scene. I was with Jerry for a while. Ed obviously was showing replays to the head coach. Jerry at some point said something along the lines of he's like, on my dying bed, I'll be thinking about this comeback.
Wow.
And he said it, that it was one of the better ones. Now, again, somebody said, what about the Super Bowls? He's like, well, yeah, there's Super Bowls. But he did think this was big. And then I asked him about what he thought about going for the touchdown down there when they could have gone up 24-21. And Jerry said, well, after we didn't get it, I was second-guessing it. And what was funny is, we kind of, everybody kind of laughed at it, and he looked back at me and said, I'm not kidding. That's when I started to question it. And he said,
to have a reasonable it's a great call if it doesn't fire you.
So anyway, but he was all smiles.
But he also said, putting the day into context, he said, we were playing for our season today.
This was he basically said, and who knows what he would have said if they had lost, but he did say this was our whole season on the line. And he's like, these were the defending champs we were playing. This is the best in the division. And they go 5-5. And we thought, hey, this stretch is going to be rough. they've let all these games get away, and we probably will look back at some point in the season, Ed, even if they have a little nice run here and go, what if they could have done this? What if they could have done that in those earlier games? But they do have Kansas City, who almost lost today, was down 20-9 to the Colts, and got that game into overtime. I mean, it looked like they could have come in here at like 5-6.
Yeah,
and
the Cowboys.
they're going to be 6-5, and the Cowboys are 5-5-1. Both these teams now are just kind of fighting for I did take a peek at the playoff standings just because I thought, they're not really close to anything right now, but are there any scenarios? And there's that one division in the NFC where everybody's pretty bad, right? Everybody's like 6-5, but every other division, everybody's 8-3, 7-3, 8-2. Yeah. There's just one. There's one.
This division's bad. The Eagles are the only team with a winning record.
Correct, and the Giants always are winning and then find a way to lose, and they're 2-10 now, and the Commanders, I believe, are 3-8. And the Cowboys sit there at 5-5-1. So still a far cry.
Yeah, they're not there.
They're not there, but we have something interesting happening right now.
The Lions struggle against the Giants, and that's who they play on the road a week from Thanksgiving night. They play next Kansas City here on Thanksgiving Day, and then a week later, Thursday Night Football in Detroit. And the Lions struggled. Didn't they go to overtime too? No. Yeah, they did. They went to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Gibbs broke off a long run for a touchdown, fastest player in the NFL. The Chiefs are an interesting team. They obviously have a generational quarterback. They've been to the championship game every year. He's been the starter, which is just incredible. But they have shown to have some weaknesses this year in terms of they don't run the football very well. Mahomes is having to create a lot of offense, it seems. I think they only had one touchdown against the Colts today, but they did come back like the Cowboys. They were backs against the wall, came back and won the game. I mean, Dak Prescott said this week, he described this as a must-win, defining series of games, no ifs, ands, or buts. CeeDee Lamb said this is like a playoff game, albeit for a team that otherwise might not have any playoff games. So that's the magnitude they approach this game with. So when Jerry says they're playing for their season, I think that's accurate.
What is Dak's, that phenomenal divisional record that he has?
He's won 19 straight divisional starts at home. Only Tom Brady with 20 has ever won more consecutive home starts against division opponents.
And this gets him to 22-2. He was 21-2, I think. This may get him to 22-2.
Yeah, it's ridiculously one-sided.
Wow,
for sure.
Wow. And for people that say Dak has over his career put up big numbers and he's best against inferior competition, some of that's accurate, but I would say this is a good one today.
Yeah.
Against a good team, defending champs, and it's not like Jalen Hurts came out here and it was like he's been bad sometimes this year. The Eagles offense at times will finish the game and Hurts will literally have 101 yards passing. Yeah. I bet he ended up today with at least 250 or something. I don't have it in front of me. Dak ends up with 354, 2 touchdowns, one rough interception. Had a running touchdown, and then as Ed said, passed Tony Romo, the great Tony Romo, for passing yards, and he needed 160, and he doubled that, and was able to.
One of the best pass defenses in football. His offensive line did a relatively good job, letting him throw without consistent pressure. And
why did they not stop the game for that?
He said they talked to him on the sideline about it, that they were in commercial break. And players started coming up, and he saw it on the board. And he said teammates started coming up and acknowledged. He says, "No, I don't want to hear it. Maybe later, not now." But the other thing he said that struck me was talked about the character of the team, the resolve, the resilience, the brotherhood. And he said, "I never doubted." He said, and I've been here 10 years. Not everybody's been doing this for 10 years. He said, I never stopped believing that we were going to win the game. In fact, he said, that's what I kept telling everybody in the huddle was believe, 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 believe. And then they had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to go take the lead, win the game. And the rookie, Tyler Booker, the right guard, says, believe, believe. And Dak says, no, I know. I don't believe. I know.
Oh, nice. Nice. Inside the huddle, we take you right here on the Doomsday Podcast. Ed Werder and I will be quick turnaround. We love to spend our Thanksgivings together. Ed used to have to be out here on Thanksgiving kind of way too early, so maybe at least this way you can be at home for a little while, and then we'll run out here, and then we'll do a Thanksgiving night deal. We have not yet committed to a Christmas night podcast.
Let's see how good the game is.
I think we're still in. My wife, by the way, is down. I said, Meredith, we might not do Christmas podcast. We might do it, and she's like, she does not believe that.
You shouldn't be mentioning that.
I know. Wait and see. I should wait, and
that's our obligation. We owe it to our devoted listeners and viewers, and we're probably going to do it on Christmas night. But let's just see how big the game is.
I remember flying home on Christmas morning after the Panthers. They played the Panthers on Christmas Eve. So we've done all this. We'll be here for you. For Ed Werder, Mike Hamilton, the Z-Man, who's celebrating early. I mean, we'll see. He may have a double Thanksgiving celebration. We'll see if he's here. Cowboys win 24-21. It is the Doomsday Podcast. Thank you for watching.
We are Rogue Media Sports.